Welcome in, Shield Brothers and Shield Maidens, to Shield's Rest. I'm Fry, and today we're going to be tackling license level 0 builds for each of the GMS frames. Let's mount up. Alright, and before we get started, I'm going to talk the mech skills, our HASE stats. For all three of these builds, I'm going to put hull at 2. It just gives us a little more HP and repair capacity, makes us a little more survivable in the beginning levels. But with that out of the way, we're going to talk the Everest frame. So for the Everest, we are going to be basing it around the core system power up. For this, when we activate it, for the rest of that scene, we get to roll 1 accuracy on all of our attacks, checks, and saves. And additionally, once a turn, we can boost as a free action. Now we're going to be utilizing this with the heavy machine gun as our main weapon. The heavy machine gun has innate accuracy, so when we attack with it, it has a +1 difficulty, so we're rolling that d6 and subtracting from the total. And with this, we're able to kind of counteract that and get the most out of the heavy machine gun. All right, and then talking talents, first we're going to pick up Heavy Gunner. This lets us, as a quick action, apply the impaired condition on a target in range of our heavy weapon. And what this is going to do is force them to make a choice. Either they stay in place and keep that impaired condition, or they can move more than one space to remove the impaired condition, but they're going to take an attack from us as a reaction. And then we're going to pick up Siege Specialists. For this, we need a cannon, which our heavy machine gun qualifies as. And it lets us, as a quick action, fire a jackhammer round. This is going to let us apply 10 armor-piercing kinetic damage to any size 1 object. And we're going to be using this to try and clear out any cover that our enemies may be using. And then last up, we're going to pick up Leader. This is going to give us a pool of 3 leadership die, which are d6s, and allows us to, as a free action, use the Issue Order action, which will let us tell a PC a course of action. And on their turn, if they follow that action, any check that's involved, they can spin that d6 to give them +1 accuracy on the check. If they choose not to do the action, they can return it to us as a free action, so it's not wasted. And then for your mounts, like I said, we're going the heavy machine gun on the heavy mount. The rest of your mounts are kind of flex picks. You can kind of go with whatever you want. I went with like the shotgun and 2 pistols on the flex, but you can do anything as long as you're picking up that heavy machine gun. All right, and then last up is systems. We're going to take personalization first. That's just going to give us a flat 2 health points, boost up our survivability a little more in these low levels. Then we're going to pick up type 3 projected shield. This allows us to pick a target, and then any attacks directed at us from them or from us to them will have +2 difficulty until the start of our next turn. And we can do this as a protocol, which is a free action at the beginning of our turn. Just gives us a little more survivability in those one-on-one situations. Then we're going to pick up Rapid Burst Jump Set System, and this allows us to fly when we boost. Just know that you have to be on the ground by the end of that movement or you will fall. And then last up, we're going to pick up Armament Redundancy. So this allows us to ignore our weapon being destroyed as a result of system trauma, which is a potential structure damage check result. And we can do this once per full repair. So we're trying to prevent us losing that heavy machine gun, and this just gives us a little more coverage in that aspect. All right, and then that's our Everest build. This has given us a little bit of aerial denial with us being able to destroy cover. We're locking enemies down or kind of giving them some bad choices, right? And then we're supporting our allies with those leadership die. So all around a really great support and kind of battlefield control Everest build here. All right, and then for the Chomolungma, we are going to be focusing on the trait that allows the Chomolungma to take any quick tech action as a free action, and then using the bolster or lock-on as a free action as well. Particularly, we're going to be focusing on that lock-on. Because of this, since we're getting the lock-on as a free action, we are able to actually lock on twice in a round when we do this. So we're trying to boost up the capabilities and get the most out of that lock-on ability. All right, then for talents, our first pick is going to be Spotter. This allows an adjacent ally who consumes lock-on to roll that lock-on die twice and take the better option. Then we're going to pick up House Guard. This lets us count as adjacent when we are within range 2 for effects that affect our ally. So now instead of being right up next to our ally for our Spotter talent, we get to be within 2 spaces of them. So gonna make it a little easier for our allies to utilize that talent from us. And then last up, we're going to take Skirmisher. This lets us gain soft cover at the start of our turn, and then we lose it if we attack or force a character to make a save. An honorable mention here could also be Hacker to just make us a little more offensive and boost up our tech attack capabilities. But for this one, I wanted Skirmisher because this is more of a support role that we're using the Chomolungma on here. All right, and then for mounts, it's kind of dealer's choice here. You can pick anything. Nothing's really vital for the build and the talents we have here. I think I would pick up assault rifle just to have a good all-around weapon, helpful for picking off like grunts and low health enemies and things like that. All right, and then that leads us into systems. First, we're going to pick up pattern A smoke charge. This gives us two options. First is a smoke grenade. It has 5 range, and when we toss it, it has a blast of 2, and then everything in that area gains soft cover until the end of our next turn when the smoke kind of dissipates. And then we have smoke mine. This one only has a limit of 3, so we only have 3 of them per full repair. But this lets us place a mine as a quick action, and then when it detonates, either an ally walking over it or adjacent to it, all characters and objects within a burst 3, so it gives us a little bit more radius, gain soft cover again until the end of our next turn. And then we're going to pick up pattern A Jericho deployable cover. This lets us deploy 2 size 1 hard covers that are adjacent to yourself and each other. So they got to be right next to each other, on top of each other. They each are going to have 5 evasion, 10 HP. They can be targeted and destroyed individually, and then you can pick it back up as a full action if they're still there. This just gives us a little bit more cover and a little more protection for us and our allies, something for us to hide behind. And then we're going to round that out with the Type 3 projected shield and the personalizations again like we used in the Everest build. To wrap it up, this build is boosting our allies' accuracy, helping out with those lock-ons and making it a little bit easier to boost them up by giving us more range. We are decreasing enemy accuracy through our smoke charges, and we are having enhanced quick tech capabilities. I didn't talk too much on it because it's not the focus of the build, but the Chomolungma is the best option if you're going for quick tech and invades and stuff at level 0. The other 2 frames don't have any more options besides the basic, and this one gives you a lot more invade options, like generating more heat on the enemies and things like that, trying to overload their heat capacity. But all around, another good support build, but more so on the tech side and boosting your allies as opposed to controlling the battlefield. All right, and then last up, we're going to talk the Sagarmatha. This one, we're going to be particularly focusing on and expanding its Guardian trait, which allows adjacent allies to use us as hard cover. So first up for talents, we're going to take combined arms. So this allows us that when we are engaged with an enemy, so we're right there one-on-one with them, adjacent allies can have soft cover as well. So they can use us as hard cover directly or have us as soft cover if they're just adjacent to us. And then next, we're going to pick up a Vanguard. This is going to give us +1 accuracy when we're using close quarter battle weapons within range 3. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then we're going to round it out with Siege Specialist again, like we used in the Everest Frame. All right, and then for our mounts, so that we're capitalizing on our Vanguard talent, we are going to use the shotgun, which is a CQB weapon. Nice thing about this, it comes with threat 3, so we get to use our Overwatch reactions with a little bit more flexibility. We have a little bit more options for that. And then we're also going to round it out with a thermal lance on the heavy, and then on the flex, a thermal pistol. I like these just because they have those that line damage, so you can hit multiple targets, so you can really punish kind of packed up enemies, and gives us a little bit of kind of AoE options there. All right, and then rolling into systems. First, we're going to take custom paint job. For this, whenever we take structure damage, we'll roll a d6. If we get to roll a 6, we return to 1 HP and ignore the damage. And this is just to try and keep us, from taking those structure damage checks. Then we're going to take stable structure. This one lets us gain 1 accuracy on saves to be knocked prone or knocked back. And again, this is just to keep us in the fight, keep us standing so that we can protect our allies, right? And then we are going to round it out with another pattern A Jericho deployable cover and personalizations like we used on the last 2 builds. All right, and then as far as play goes, we are trying to protect our kind of squishier allies, right? Like our hackers, like our Chomolungma, right? Or any artillery ones that are not so focused on melee and being heavy hitters, but trying to, support and do artillery fire and stuff like that. We're trying to protect them, right? Or blocking off key areas with our cover and things like that, just kind of being in their face. We are a bigger frame here. And so with that, we're doing a little bit of crowd control as well, right? With our shotgun, our thermal lance and all that, trying to make sure our enemies are staying more spread out so that we can pick them off one by one and they're not ganging up on our allies. And with the Sagarmatha, we are beefier too, in the sense that we have we can once per scene, brace without having any movement or action penalties, right? So we can take one good hit and like kind of shrug it off and still be good to go in the next round. So really good, nice defensive frame if you're trying to be that tank or that shield wall for your allies. It's a really good build for that. All right, and that wraps up our GMS builds. Now, they are far from the only build and far from the best build, I'm sure, but I think they are three good, reliable options that players can pick up, easily understand, and get into the battlefield. If this is your first time watching, consider subscribing. We got more Lancer content coming up, and we're covering other games on the channel as well. DC-20, Daggerheart, and we really appreciate all the support and engagement we've had with the community and hope to continue to grow that and make something really great out of the channel here. But hope to see you in the comments. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you would do differently, and what you are excited to see in the future from us. But until next time, keep that shield wall strong.